Commander Vexthara stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Stellar Dawn and watched the blue planet grow larger on the main screen. His forearms moved across the control panels with practiced ease while his large yellow eyes studied the data flowing across multiple displays. The third planet of this star system looked promising. Water covered most of its surface, and the atmospheric readings showed it could support life. "Sir, we are detecting radio signals from the planet," reported Science Officer Klymeth from his station. His scaled green skin reflected the bridge lights as he worked. The signals are very basic. They appeared to be using primitive electromagnetic waves for communication. Vexthara's mouth parts clicked together in what his species considered a smile, another young civilization to study and guide. The Zephyrian Empire had made contact with 47 primitive worlds over the past 3 centuries. Each time, the pattern was the same. The native species would be shocked by their arrival, desperate to learn their technology and grateful for their guidance. "What is their technological level?" Vexthara asked as he moved to stand behind Klymeth's station. "Very low, Commander," Klymeth replied, his clawed fingers dancing over his instruments. "They have basic satellites in orbit around their planet, some crude space stations. Their most advanced vehicles appear to be chemical-powered rockets. We are also detecting nuclear energy signatures, but only at a very basic level." Weapons Officer Zatok looked up from her station. Her red scales were darker than Klymeth's green ones, and her voice carried the typical harshness of her warrior caste. "Their weapons are primitive too, Commander. Nuclear devices, yes, but small ones, chemical explosives, kinetic projectiles. Nothing that could threaten us." Vexthara nodded. This was exactly what he had expected. Young civilizations always followed similar paths of development. They would discover fire, then metals, then electricity, then nuclear power, and finally, space travel. The species on this planet appeared to be somewhere between nuclear power and basic spaceflight. Communications Officer Rilvan scanned their broadcast signals, learned their languages. "I want to understand how they organize themselves before we make contact." Communications Officer Rilvan was the youngest member of the bridge crew. Her pale blue skin marked her as coming from the northern continents of Zephyr Prime. She had been excited about this mission from the beginning. "Yes, Commander, I am already analyzing their transmissions." The bridge fell quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's engines and the gentle beeping of various instruments. Vexthara walked to the large window that dominated the front of the bridge and looked out at the planet below. It really was beautiful. The blue oceans reminded him of the sacred lakes on his homeworld. The white clouds swirled in patterns that seemed almost artistic. "Commander," Rilvan called out after several hours of work, "I have learned much about their civilization. They call their planet Earth. They are divided into many different political groups called nations. These nations often fight with each other, but they also cooperate on some projects." "How many different languages do they speak?" Vexthara asked. "Thousands, sir. But there are several major ones used by large populations. I have focused on learning the most common ones. They appear to have something called the United Nations, which is a group where representatives from different nations meet to discuss problems." Klymeth looked up from his station with interest. "So some level of cooperation." "Many young species fight constantly until they destroy themselves or until they are forced to unite by outside pressure." "What about their technology?" Vexthara wanted to know more about what they would be dealing with. "They have global communication networks," Rilvan continued. "They share information across their planet almost instantly. They have built machines that can perform calculations very quickly, though these machines are very basic compared to our quantum processors. They have vehicles that can travel on land, on water, and through their atmosphere." "Any signs of faster than light travel?" Vexthara asked, though he already knew the answer. "No, sir. Their fastest vehicles can barely escape their planet's gravity. They have sent a few small devices to other planets in their system, but these missions take many months or years to complete." Zatok spoke up again. Commander, I have completed my scan of their defensive capabilities. They have a few thousand nuclear weapons spread across their planet. Most are controlled by a small number of the larger nations. They also have conventional military forces with chemical-powered weapons and basic aircraft. Some of their nations have defense systems designed to intercept incoming missiles, but these systems are very limited. Vextara processed this information. It was a typical profile for a young species. They had developed weapons capable of destroying their own planet, but they lacked the unity to prevent such destruction and the technology to defend against external threats. The Zephyrian Empire had protocols for dealing with such civilizations. Begin. Standard first contact procedures, he ordered, but maintain our position outside their detection range for now. I want to observe them a little longer before we reveal ourselves. For the next several days, the crew of the Stellar Dawn watched Earth carefully. They observed the humans as they went about their daily lives. They watched their cities, their transportation systems, their industrial facilities. They monitored their communications and learned more about their languages and cultures. What they saw confirmed their initial assessment. The humans were a young species with impressive potential but limited current capabilities. They showed creativity and adaptability, traits that would serve them well as they developed more advanced technology under Zephyrian guidance. Sir, Kleineth said on the fourth day of observation, I have noticed something interesting. While their technology is primitive, their scientific knowledge is more advanced than I would expect. They understand many complex principles of physics and chemistry. Their astronomical observations are quite detailed. That is not unusual, Vextara replied. Many species develop theoretical knowledge before they develop the technology to apply it practically. It often takes centuries for theory to become technology. Yes, sir, but there is something else. I have been analyzing their historical broadcasts, the ones they use for entertainment and education. They have many stories about contact with beings from other worlds. They seem to have thought about this possibility quite a lot. Rilvan added, they have something they call science fiction. Many of their stories involve contact with alien species. Some of these stories imagine peaceful contact, others imagine conflict. They seem to have considered many different possibilities. Interesting, Vextara mused. That might make our contact easier. They will not be completely shocked by our existence. Zotok disagreed. Or it might make them more suspicious. If they have imagined many scenarios, they might not trust us. Immediately, we will proceed carefully, Vextara decided. Begin transmitting our standard first contact message. Use their most common languages. Make it clear that we come in peace and that we want to establish friendly relations. Rilvan worked at her station for several minutes, composing the message. Message ready, Commander. Send it on all their major communication frequencies. Target their United Nations facility and the capital cities of their major nations. The message was simple and direct, translated into 12 of Earth's major languages. It identified the Zephyrians as peaceful explorers from another star system. It expressed interest in learning about human civilization and sharing knowledge. It requested permission to land representatives on Earth to begin formal diplomatic contact. Vextara expected the response to take several hours at least. Young civilizations usually needed time to recover from the shock of first contact. Their leaders would need to meet, argue, and decide how to respond. Some might want to hide the contact from their populations. Others might want to reveal it immediately. The process usually took days or even weeks, but the response came in less than 2 hours. Commander, Rilvan said with surprise in her voice, we are receiving a reply. Already? Are you certain it is an official response? Yes, sir. It is coming from multiple sources, including their United Nations headquarters and several of their major governments. The message is coordinated and appears to have official authority. What does it say? Rilvan read from her display. Welcome to Earth. We are pleased to make contact with the Zephyrian people. We appreciate your peaceful intentions and would be honored to meet your representatives. Please proceed to the following coordinates for formal first contact. Ground control will guide your landing. The bridge fell silent. Vexthara stared at the communications officer, waiting for more information. That is the entire message, sir, Rilvin confirmed. No expressions of shock? No questions about our intentions? No demands for proof that we are real? No, sir. Just a simple welcome and an invitation to land? Klamath looked puzzled. This is very unusual, Commander. In our experience, first contact with primitive species involves much more emotional response. Fear, excitement, confusion, disbelief. This response is almost casual. Zatok was more direct. It is suspiciously calm. Either they are much more advanced than our scans indicate, or they are hiding their true reactions. Vextara considered both possibilities. Their scans were very thorough. It was extremely unlikely that the humans possessed advanced technology that could hide from Zephyrian sensors. More likely, their leaders were simply better at controlling their emotions than most young species. Plot a course for the coordinates. They provided, he ordered. But maintain full defensive readiness. If this is some kind of trap, I want to be prepared. Sir, the navigation officer reported, the coordinates are located in a desert region of the continent they call North America. It appears to be far from any major population centers. Good, that shows wisdom. They want to keep our first meeting private until they understand our intentions better. As the stellar dawn moved toward Earth, Vexthara felt the familiar excitement that came with first contact. Soon they would meet this young species face to face. They would learn about human culture, human hopes, human fears, and the humans would learn about the greater galaxy that surrounded their small world. He had no way of knowing that everything he believed about this contact was wrong. He had no way of knowing that the humans had been waiting for them long before they arrived. And he had no way of knowing that this meeting would change everything he thought he knew about the galaxy and Earth's place in it. The blue planet grew larger on the screen as they approached, looking peaceful and innocent in the light of its yellow star. The landing shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere with Vexthara and 5 of his most trusted officers aboard. Below them, the desert stretched out in all directions, broken only by small mountains and the occasional road. The coordinates the humans had provided led to what appeared to be a hastily built facility in the middle of nowhere. As they got closer, Vexthara could see the landing area more clearly. It was a large, flat concrete pad surrounded by several simple buildings. The structures looked new, as if they had been constructed quickly just for this meeting. Human vehicles were parked nearby, and he could see small groups of people waiting for their arrival. The construction appears very basic, observed Dr. Klamath, who was studying the facility through the shuttle's sensors. Simple concrete and metal buildings, nothing sophisticated. But functional, added Zatok. They have provided adequate space for landing and what appears to be meeting areas. For a primitive species, they have organized this contact quite efficiently. The shuttle touched down gently on the concrete pad. Through the windows, Vexthara could see the humans approaching. They moved with confidence, not the fearful hesitation he had seen from other young species during first contact. They wore simple clothing that appeared to be some kind of uniform, and they carried devices that were probably communication equipment. Remember, Vexthara told his team as they prepared to leave the shuttle, we are dealing with a primitive species. Be patient with their limitations. Do not overwhelm them with too much information at once. Our goal is to establish trust and begin the process of gradual technological advancement. The shuttle door opened and Vexthara stepped out onto the concrete surface. The Earth sun felt warm on his scales and the air was dry and clean. A small group of humans approached them, led by a middle-aged female with short brown hair and intelligent eyes. Welcome to Earth, she said in clear, precise Zephyrian. Her accent was strange, but her words were perfectly understandable. I am Dr. Sarah Chun, Director of the International Contact Initiative. On behalf of all humanity, we are honored to meet you. Vexthara was impressed. The human had learned their language remarkably quickly. Most primitive species needed translation devices for months before they could speak even basic phrases in Zephyrian. Dr. Chun, he replied, using what he hoped was the correct human title. I am Commander Vextara of the Zephyrian Exploration Fleet. We are pleased to meet you as well. You learned our language very quickly, Dr. Chun smiled. We have been working very hard since we received your message. We assigned our best linguists to study your transmissions. Please, come inside. We have prepared a place where we can talk comfortably. She led them toward the largest building. As they walked, Vexthara noticed that the other humans did not seem afraid or overwhelmed. They watched the Zephyrians with obvious curiosity, but there was no panic, no running away. No signs of the shock that usually accompanied first contact. The inside of the building was simple but clean. The furniture was basic metal and plastic, clearly mass-produced. The lighting was electrical, using what appeared to be primitive bulbs. Computer monitors showed simple displays with basic graphics. Everything confirmed that the humans were indeed a young, technologically limited species. Please sit wherever you are comfortable, Dr. Chun said, gesturing to chairs that had obviously been specially made to accommodate Zephyrian anatomy. We took the liberty of studying your physiology from your shuttle transmissions and prepared seating for you. This was another impressive detail. Most primitive species were so overwhelmed by first contact that they forgot about basic hospitality. The humans had not only remained calm enough to think about comfort, but they had analyzed Zephyrian anatomy and built appropriate furniture in just a few days. Dr. Chun introduced the other humans present. There was Dr. James Wilson, described as a physicist. General Patricia Martinez, identified as a military representative. Professor Michael Jung, introduced as a historian and cultural expert. Ambassador Lisa Thompson, representing Earth's governments. Each of them greeted the Zephyrians politely and professionally. We have many questions, Dr. Chun began once everyone was seated. But first, we want to express our gratitude that you chose to contact us peacefully. We understand that more advanced civilizations do not always approach younger ones with such consideration. Vexthara found this comment interesting. It suggested that the humans had thought seriously about the possibilities of contact with alien species. Their science fiction stories had apparently prepared them well for this moment. The Zephyrian Empire believes in peaceful contact and mutual benefit, he replied. We have encountered many young civilizations like yours. We prefer to share knowledge and help species develop their potential rather than impose our will upon them. That is very reassuring, said Ambassador Thompson. We were hoping that would be your approach. We have prepared a tour of our facility, so you can see some of our current capabilities. We thought you might be interested in understanding our technological level. Over the next several hours, Dr. Chun and her colleagues showed the Zephyrians around the facility. They visited laboratories where human scientists demonstrated their equipment. The computers were indeed primitive, using simple processors and basic programming languages. The scientific instruments were functional but crude compared to Zephyrian technology. In one laboratory, Dr. Wilson showed them human weapons technology, chemical explosives, kinetic projectiles, and a small nuclear device that had been disarmed for display purposes. We know these are very basic compared to what you probably have, he said with what appeared to be embarrassment. But they represent the best of our current military technology. They are appropriate for your current level of development, Vexthara assured him diplomatically. Every civilization must begin somewhere. With time and guidance, your technology will advance significantly. The humans asked many questions during the tour. They wanted to know about Zephyrian faster-than-light travel, energy systems, materials, science, and communication technology. Their questions were intelligent and well-informed, showing a good understanding of basic scientific principles. But they also revealed the gaps in human knowledge that were typical of a young species. Our fusion power systems are still experimental, Dr. Chun explained as they visited the facility's power plant. We can achieve fusion, but we cannot yet make it efficient enough for widespread use. We are very interested in learning about your energy systems. We use quantum energy extraction, Klamath explained. It is much more efficient than fusion, but it requires materials and techniques that are beyond your current capabilities. However, we could help you improve your fusion technology as a stepping stone. The humans seemed genuinely excited by this possibility. They asked detailed questions about fusion improvement techniques and took careful notes of everything Klamath told them. Their eagerness to learn was exactly what Vexthara expected from a primitive species encountering advanced technology for the first time. But Dr. Klamath was beginning to notice things that puzzled him. The facility was supposedly built quickly for this meeting, but some of the construction showed signs of age that did not match that timeline. Scratches on metal surfaces, wear patterns on floors, small repairs that indicated long use. It was as if parts of the facility were much older than they appeared. There were other small details that seemed odd. The human computers were primitive, but the interfaces were too polished, too refined. The weapons were basic, but the engineering was too precise. The scientific instruments were crude, but they showed evidence of having been used extensively. For years, most puzzling of all were the humans themselves. They were definitely impressed by Zephyrian technology, and they asked the right questions for a primitive species. But they were too composed, too prepared. They knew exactly what to ask and how to ask it. There was no fumbling, no confusion, no overwhelming sense of wonder that usually accompanied first contact. "Dr. Chun," Klamath said during a break-in, "the tour, your facility is very well organized for something that was built so quickly. You have planned this contact very efficiently." "Thank you," she replied smoothly. "We have been preparing for the possibility of contact with alien species for many years. When we received your message, we activated plans that were already in place. You have been preparing for contact? How did you know that contact was possible?" "We did not know for certain," Professor Zhang answered. "But our astronomers have detected many planets that could support life. We assumed that if life exists elsewhere in the galaxy, some of it might be intelligent. We thought it was logical to prepare for the possibility of contact." This was a reasonable explanation, but it only partially satisfied Klamath's concerns. The level of preparation seemed too sophisticated for a species that was only guessing about the possibility of contact. During lunch, the humans served food. That had been specially prepared to be safe for Zephyrian digestion. They had analyzed the biological information from the shuttle transmissions and created meals that would be both nutritious and tasty for their guests. This level of thoughtful preparation was impressive for a primitive species. "We want to discuss the possibility of technological exchange," Dr. Chun said as they ate. "We understand that you probably cannot share your most advanced technology with us immediately, but we hope that you might be willing to help us improve our current capabilities gradually." "That is exactly our intention," Vexthara replied. "We believe in gradual technological advancement. Too much change too quickly can be harmful to a young civilization. We prefer to help species develop naturally while providing guidance and assistance." "We appreciate that approach," said General Martinez. "We have discussed this extensively, and we agree that gradual advancement is better than sudden change. We are prepared to work within whatever timeline you think is appropriate." The afternoon was spent discussing specific areas where the Zephyrians might be able to help: medical technology, energy systems, materials science, and communication. Improvements were identified as priorities. The humans also expressed interest in learning about other species that the Zephyrians had contacted. "We are curious about how other young civilizations have developed with your guidance, Ambassador," Thompson said. "We would like to learn from their experiences." "Each species is different," Vexthara explained. "But we have detailed records of many successful advancement programs. We would be happy to share appropriate examples with you." As the day continued, Klamath's concerns grew stronger. He had been discreetly scanning the facility with his portable instruments, and the readings were confusing. Energy signatures that did not match the primitive technology on display. Structural materials that seemed more advanced than they appeared. Underground spaces that his scans could not penetrate completely. When he mentioned his concerns privately to Zatok, the weapons officer nodded grimly. I have noticed things too, she said quietly. The humans are too calm, too prepared. They act like they have done this before. What do you mean? They know exactly how to interact with us. They ask the right questions, they show the right level of interest, they avoid topics that might be sensitive. It is like they have studied how to conduct first contact with an advanced species. Klamath considered this. Perhaps they have simply thought about it very carefully. Humans seem to be good at planning and preparation. Perhaps. But there is something else. I have been analyzing their security arrangements. They are too sophisticated for a primitive species. The guards are positioned too well. The communication systems are too efficient. The coordination is too smooth. You think they are hiding something? I think they are more advanced than they want us to believe. As the day ended, Dr. Chun invited the Zephyrians to stay at the facility overnight. We have prepared quarters for you, she said. Tomorrow we can continue our discussions, and perhaps begin planning specific cooperation projects. That is very kind, Vexthara replied. We accept your hospitality. But as night fell over the desert facility, Klamath continued his discreet scans. What he discovered in the darkness would change everything they thought they knew about Earth and humanity. Deep underground, his instruments detected energy signatures unlike anything he had ever seen before, and those signatures were deliberately shielded, as if someone was trying very hard to hide them from detection. The humans were not what they appeared to be. The question was, what were they really hiding, and why? Dr. Klamath could not sleep. He lay in the quarters the humans had prepared for him, listening to the quiet sounds of the desert night. His mind kept returning to the strange readings his instruments had detected during the day. The energy signatures, deep underground, were unlike anything in the Zephyrian databases. They were too complex, too powerful for a primitive civilization. At midnight, he made a decision that would change everything. Taking his most sensitive scanner, he left his quarters and moved quietly through the facility. The human guards nodded politely as he passed, showing no suspicion. They seemed to assume he was simply exploring out of curiosity. He made his way to a maintenance area he had noticed during the tour. His scanner showed that the strongest energy readings came from directly below this section of the building. Using the scanner's deep penetration mode, he began a detailed analysis of the underground structures. What he found made his blood run cold. The facility they had been shown was only the top layer of a massive complex that extended hundreds of meters underground. The energy signatures he was detecting were not primitive fusion reactors or chemical power plants. They were quantum energy systems more advanced than anything the Zephyrian Empire possessed, but that was not the most shocking discovery. His scanner also detected something else in Earth's orbital space. Debris that he had assumed was from failed human space missions was actually the remains of advanced spacecraft. The metal compositions included materials that should not exist on a planet with Earth's technological level. Klamath's hands shook as he saved the scan data. The humans were not a primitive species. They were far more advanced than they were pretending to be. But why would they hide their true capabilities? Why would they want the Zephyrians to think they were primitive? He was so focused on his scanner that he did not notice Dr. Chun approaching until she spoke. Dr. Klamath, is everything all right? You seem troubled. He spun around, his scanner still in his hands. Dr. Chun stood a few meters away, watching him with calm eyes. She was not surprised to find him there. She was not angry that he was conducting unauthorized scans. She seemed to have expected this moment. I was just exploring, he said weakly. Of course you were. And what have you discovered in your explorations? The question was asked in a gentle tone, but Klamath could hear something else underneath, knowledge, as if Dr. Chun already knew exactly what he had found. Your facility is larger than it appears, he said carefully. Yes, it is, much larger. Would you like to see the rest of it? Klamath stared at her. This was not the response he had expected. A primitive species caught hiding technology should be frightened, defensive, or angry. Dr. Chun seemed almost relieved that he had discovered their secret. "I think I should return to my quarters," he said. "I think you should come with me instead. There are things you need to see, things that will help you understand why we have been less than completely honest with you." Against his better judgment, Klamath followed Dr. Chun deeper into the facility. She led him to what appeared to be a maintenance elevator. But when she placed her hand on a scanner beside the door, the elevator opened to reveal an interior that was clearly not primitive human technology. The walls were made of materials that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. The controls were holographic displays that responded to touch and thought. As the elevator descended, Klamath's scanner went wild with energy readings that were off any scale he knew. "How deep does this go?" he asked. 700 meters, Dr. Chun replied. "This is one of our smaller facilities. The main installations go much deeper." The elevator stopped, and the doors opened to reveal a sight that made Klamath's legs weak. They were standing at the edge of a vast underground complex that stretched as far as he could see. The ceiling was hundreds of meters high, supported by pillars of the same flowing metal material. The air hummed with energy from machines and systems that were beyond Zephyrian understanding. Hundreds of humans moved through the complex, working at stations and terminals that displayed information in languages Klamath did not recognize. But what shocked him most were the vehicles he could see in the distance. Spacecraft that were sleek, advanced, and clearly designed for interstellar travel. "Welcome to Earth's true face," Dr. Chun said softly. "This is what we really are. But your surface technology, your primitive computers and weapons ... are real. They represent the level of technology we allow most of our population to use. But they are not the limit of what we can build." Dr. Chun led him to a viewing platform where they could see more of the complex. Wall displays showed star maps that included detailed information about dozens of star systems. Klamath recognized some of them, including the Zephyrian home system. "You have been watching us," he said with growing horror. "For 37 years, since your species first developed faster-than-light travel, we have monitoring stations throughout your space. We know about your exploration program, your contact protocols, your military capabilities. That is impossible. Our sensors would have detected any monitoring stations. Your sensors detect what we want them to detect. Our stealth technology is considerably more advanced than your detection systems." Klamath felt like the floor was falling away beneath him. Everything they thought they knew about this contact was wrong. The humans had not been discovered by the Zephyrians. The Zephyrians had been allowed to find Earth. "Why?" he asked. "Why are you pretending to be primitive? Why hide your true capabilities?" Dr. Chun touched a control panel, and a large holographic display appeared in front of them. It showed a timeline spanning thousands of years, marked with the rise and fall of dozens of different species. "Because we learned a long time ago that the galaxy is not a safe place for those who appear strong. We have been contacted by 43 different alien species over the past 8 centuries. Each one believed they were the first to discover us. Each one thought we were a primitive species that needed their guidance." 8 centuries? But that would mean you have had advanced technology for ... much longer than you assume. We have been traveling between stars for over 1,000 years. We have colonies in 17 different systems. We have technology that could level mountains or build them. We could destroy a star system or create new worlds. The holographic display changed to show detailed information about various alien species. Klamath saw species he recognized, but also many he did not. Some of the entries were marked in red, others in green or yellow. What do these colors mean? Red means extinct. Yellow means relocated or confined to their home systems. Green means they passed our tests and were allowed to continue developing freely. Tests? What tests? The same test you are taking right now. When a species contacts us, we evaluate their intentions, their ethics, their treatment of other civilizations. Those who prove to be peaceful and wise are guided away from Earth with their memories adjusted. They never know we are more than we appear. Those who prove to be aggressive or dangerous are destroyed, Klymeth finished with a whisper. Are stopped before they can harm others, yes. The full scope of what Dr. Chun was telling him hit Klymeth like a physical blow. Earth was not a newly discovered primitive world. It was the secret center of a galactic intelligence network that had been operating for centuries. Humanity was not a young species learning about the galaxy. They were ancient players who had been shaping galactic development from the shadows. The Zephyrian Empire. What is our evaluation so far? Still in progress. Your contact protocols are peaceful, which is encouraging. Your treatment of previous primitive contacts has been generally benevolent, though not perfect. Your species shows capacity for wisdom and growth. Dr. Chun led him to another section of the complex where they could see human technicians working on spacecraft that were clearly more advanced than anything in the Zephyrian fleet. The ships were sleek and seemed to bend light around them. Energy readings from their engines were beyond measurement. How many of these ships do you have? Enough. Our fleet is positioned throughout the galaxy. We monitor every spacefaring species. We intervene when necessary to prevent wars, genocides, or technological disasters that could threaten multiple worlds. You are the secret rulers of the galaxy. No. We are its guardians. We do not rule. We do not control. We guide and protect. There's a difference. Klymeth's scanner beeped, drawing his attention to readings that showed massive energy buildups throughout the complex. What is happening? Your ship in orbit has been trying to contact you. Commander Vexthara is becoming concerned about your absence. We are preparing to bring your entire crew down here for a complete briefing. You are going to reveal the truth to all of them. The test is moving to its final phase. Commander Vexthara will need to make a choice that will determine the fate of your entire species. He should make that choice with complete information. As if summoned by their conversation, elevator doors opened and Commander Vexthara stepped out, followed by the rest of the Zephyrian crew. Their faces showed the same shock and confusion that Klymeth had felt when he first saw the underground complex. Klymeth, what is this place? Vexthara demanded. Commander, we have been deceived. The humans are not primitive. They are more advanced than we are, much more advanced. Dr. Chun stepped forward. Commander Vexthara, welcome to Earth's true command center. I apologize for the deception, but it was necessary. We needed to evaluate your species before revealing our actual capabilities. Vexthara looked around the vast complex, his forearms hanging limply at his sides. How long have you been watching us? Since before your species achieved interstellar flight. We have detailed records of your civilization's development, your exploration programs, your contact with other species. We know about every world you have contacted, every agreement you have made, every conflict you have resolved or failed to resolve. This is impossible. We would have detected you. You detected what we wanted you to detect. Our technology is several centuries ahead of yours, Commander. We could destroy your fleet without it ever knowing we were there. We could eliminate your homeworld and make it look like a natural disaster. We could erase your species from the galaxy and no one would ever know you had existed. The threat was delivered in Dr. Chun's calm, professional voice, but the words hit the Zephyrian crew like a physical attack. Taka's hand moved instinctively toward her weapon, then stopped as she realized how pointless such a gesture would be. Why are you telling us this? Vexthara asked. Because you need to understand what is at stake. Your species is at a crossroads, Commander. The choices you make in the next few hours will determine whether the Zephyrian Empire continues to exist or becomes another red entry in our historical records. Dr. Chun gestured to the holographic displays around them. We have been evaluating your species for decades. Your peaceful contact protocols are encouraging. Your generally benevolent treatment of primitive worlds shows wisdom. But there are concerning elements in your expansion patterns and some of your military policies. What elements? Your tendency to impose Zephyrian cultural values on contacted species. Your assumption that technological advancement always equals social improvement. Your unwillingness to accept that some species might prefer to develop differently than you expect. Vexthara felt like his worldview was crumbling around him. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy, about Earth, about their own importance, was wrong. They were not advanced explorers bringing enlightenment to primitive worlds. They were children being evaluated by beings who had been manipulating galactic development for centuries. What do you want from us? A choice, Commander. You can choose to attack us, knowing that it will result in the swift and complete destruction of your species. You can choose to return to your space and continue as you have been, in which case we will make some adjustments to ensure you cause no harm to others. Or you can choose to learn the truth about the galaxy and perhaps earn a place in our network of guardians. And if we choose the third option, then you will learn that the galaxy is far stranger and more dangerous than you ever imagined. And you will help us protect the young species that are just beginning to reach for the stars. Commander Vexthara looked at his crew, seeing his own shock and confusion reflected in their faces. In a few moments he would have to make the most important decision in Zephyrian history, and he was beginning to realize that humanity had been preparing for this moment much longer than he had. Commander Vexthara stood in silence for several long minutes, trying to process everything Dr. Chun had told them. Around him, his crew waited for his response. The vast underground complex hummed with alien technology that made their most advanced systems look like children's toys. You said we have a choice, he finally said. But it does not sound like much of a choice. Submit to your will or die. That is not what I said, Commander. Let me be more precise about your options. Dr. Chun touched a control panel and the holographic displays changed to show detailed star maps. Your first option is to attack us. You would lose and your species would be eliminated. But the choice is yours to make. And the second option? You return to your space with modified memories. You would remember making peaceful contact with a primitive human civilization. You would believe that we agreed to gradual technology. Sharing over many years, your species would continue to develop naturally, but we would guide your expansion to prevent conflicts with other civilizations. Vexthara studied the star map, noting how many systems were marked with various symbols. How many species have you given modified memories? 37 different civilizations. Most of them never knew we were anything more than a young species they helped develop. They believe they guided us toward advanced technology over decades or centuries. They feel good about their benevolent actions while we quietly prevent them from harming others. Dr. Klymeth spoke up from where he stood with the scanning device still in his hands. And the third option? The third option is the most difficult. You learn the complete truth about the galaxy and humanity's role in it. You become part of our network of guardians. But this choice comes with costs that you may not be willing to pay. What costs? Dr. Chun gestured to another section of the holographic display. It showed detailed information about species Vexthara did not recognize. You would learn that the galaxy is far more dangerous than you imagine. There are threats out there that could destroy entire sectors of space. Ancient machines that still function after millions of years. Species that consume other civilizations for food or sport. Beings of pure energy that view physical life as something to be eliminated. The display showed images that made Vexthara's blood run cold. Vast machines that stripped planets down to their cores. Creatures that existed in the space between stars and fed on the life force of entire worlds. Ships the size of moons that moved through space, consuming everything in their path. These threats are real, Dr. Chun continued, and they are active. Right now, as we speak, there are 17 different crisis situations in various parts of the galaxy, species being invaded by machine intelligences, worlds being consumed by energy parasites. Young civilizations being corrupted by ancient influences that turn them into weapons of destruction. Zeta could not contain herself any longer. If these threats are so dangerous, why do you not simply eliminate them? Because we cannot. Some of them are too powerful even for us. Others exist in forms that make them difficult to fight directly. Most importantly, the galaxy is vast and we are only one species. We need allies, partners, other civilizations that can help us monitor and respond to threats. Dr. Chen led them to a new area of the complex where they could see what appeared to be a war room. Multiple large displays showed real-time information from across the galaxy. Humans worked at stations, coordinating responses to various situations. "This is our primary monitoring center," she explained. "We track threats, coordinate responses, and manage intervention operations across 47 different sectors of space. But we are stretched thin. We need more guardians." On one of the displays, Vexthara could see a star system under attack by something that looked like a massive mechanical spider. Human ships were engaged in battle alongside vessels from species he did not recognize. "Who are those other ships fighting with you?" "Species that passed our tests and chose to become guardians. The Kethmori from the Andra sector, the Veltar from the Outer Rim, the Zindai from the Core Worlds. 12 different species currently work with us to protect the galaxy." "And the species that failed your tests?" Dr. Chin's expression grew somber. "Some were relocated to isolated systems where they could develop without threatening others. Some were confined to their homeworlds until they learned wisdom, and some—" She paused, looking at a section of the display marked in red. "Some gave us no choice but to stop them permanently." The display showed the remnants of what had once been a star system. Only debris and radiation remained where planets had once orbited their star. "The Krexener Empire," Dr. Chun said quietly. "They enslaved 43 different species and were planning to use biological weapons to eliminate all life in this sector except their own. We gave them multiple chances to change their behavior. They responded by accelerating their genocide programs. You destroyed an entire star system? We evacuated the enslaved populations first. The Krexener had 3 months to reconsider their actions. They used that time to build more weapons and plan larger massacres. We had no choice." The weight of what Dr. Chun was telling them settled on the Zephyrian crew like a physical burden. The galaxy was not the place of peaceful exploration and gradual development they had imagined. It was a battlefield where ancient horrors still moved through the darkness, where civilizations rose and fell based on choices they made when they first reached for the stars. "Why are you telling us all of this?" Vexthara asked. "Why not simply give us modified memories and send us away?" "Because we need help, Commander. The threats are growing stronger and more numerous. Ancient systems are awakening after millions of years of sleep. Young species are developing dangerous technologies. Faster than ever before, we cannot handle everything alone." Dr. Chun brought up another display that showed the Zephyrian home system in detail. Vexthara was shocked to see how much the humans knew about his people. They had information about Zephyrian military installations, population centers, industrial facilities, even individual government officials. "Your species shows potential to become guardians," she continued. "Your contact protocols are generally peaceful. Your military is competent but not aggressive. Your scientists are intelligent and adaptable. Most importantly, you have shown the ability to cooperate with other species. But there are problems with our evaluation?" "Yes, your tendency to impose your cultural values on other species is concerning. Your assumption that all civilizations should develop along the same path as yours shows a lack of understanding about diversity, and some of your military leaders have shown disturbing attitudes about the use of force." Zatok stepped forward. "What attitudes?" "General Morthic S.'s recent proposal to use military force to accelerate development programs on primitive worlds. Admiral Kexver S.'s suggestion that resistant species should be conquered for their own good. These attitudes are similar to those we have seen in species that eventually became threats to galactic peace." Vexthara felt a chill run through him. He knew both officers Dr. Chun had mentioned. Their attitudes had concerned him as well, but he had not realized how dangerous they might appear to outside observers. "If we choose to become guardians, what would happen to those officers?" "They would need to be re-educated or removed from positions of authority." We cannot work with species that include elements prone to aggressive expansion or forced development programs. The conversation was interrupted by an alarm that echoed through the complex. Human technicians began working more urgently at their stations, and new information appeared on the displays. "What is happening?" Klamath asked. Dr. Chen checked a portable device. "We have a situation developing in the Kepler sector. An ancient machine intelligence has awakened and is beginning to consume inhabited worlds. We need to respond immediately." On the main display, they could see images from the affected system. A massive mechanical entity was systematically stripping planets of all organic material, converting the matter into more machines that spread out to consume additional worlds. "How do you fight something like that?" Vexthara asked. "Very carefully and with overwhelming force. We have been preparing for this specific threat for 40 years. We have weapons designed specifically to disrupt machine intelligences and allies positioned throughout the sector." Dr. Chen began issuing orders to various teams. Ships began launching from hidden bays throughout the complex. Communication systems activated to coordinate with Guardian forces across the galaxy. Within minutes, a full-scale military operation was underway. "Commander Vexthara," Dr. Chen said as she continued coordinating the response, "I need your decision now. We cannot wait any longer. What happens if we choose to become Guardians? Your ship will be equipped with our most advanced technology. Your crew will be trained in Guardian protocols. You will be given responsibility for monitoring and protecting a section of space that includes several developing civilizations. And you will join the ongoing battle to keep the galaxy safe from threats that most species never know exist. And if we refuse, then you return to your ship with modified memories and we handle the Zephyrian Empire through other means. Your species will continue to exist, but they will never know the truth about the galaxy or their potential role in protecting it." Vexthara looked at his crew. Klamath was studying the displays showing the machine intelligence attack, his scientific mind clearly fascinated by the technology being used to fight it. Zetok was watching the military coordination with professional interest. The others looked shocked but intrigued by what they were seeing. "If we become Guardians, what happens to our people? Our civilization? Most of them would never know the truth. Guardian species maintain their normal societies while a small group of trained individuals handle Guardian responsibilities. Your people would continue to live their lives, explore space, and develop their civilization. But they would be protected from threats they cannot imagine and guided away from choices that could destroy them." Another alarm sounded, and Dr. Chen checked her device again. "Commander, the situation in Kepler is escalating. I need to join the response team. Your decision?" Vexthara looked around the vast complex one more time. He thought about his species, his civilization, his responsibility as a commander. He thought about the threats Dr. Chen had shown them and the possibility that the Zephyrian Empire might someday face such dangers alone. But mostly, he thought about the choice between living in ignorance and accepting the burden of terrible knowledge. "Dr. Chen," he said finally, "I choose the truth. We will become Guardians." Dr. Chen nodded grimly. "Then prepare yourselves, Commander. You're about to learn that everything you thought you knew about the galaxy was just the beginning. And your first mission starts now?" The displays around them shifted to show the Zephyrian ship in orbit. But now they could see it was surrounded by human vessels that had been hidden from their sensors. The test was over, but the real challenge was just beginning. The moment Commander Vexthara spoke his decision, everything changed. Dr. Chen pressed a series of controls on her device, and the entire underground complex shifted into full operational mode. Walls that had appeared solid became transparent, revealing even more levels extending deeper into the Earth. Hundreds of additional humans appeared at stations that materialized from the floors and walls. "Welcome to the Guardian Network," Dr. Chen said as she led the Zephyrian crew to a central command platform. "You have just made the most important decision in your species' history. I hope you understand the weight of what you have chosen." "Commander." Vexthara felt a mixture of fear and excitement as he watched the incredible activity around them. What happens now? Now you learn the complete truth about humanity and our role in the galaxy, and you begin your training as the newest members of our Guardian network. Dr. Chun activated a massive holographic display that filled the air around them. It showed the entire galaxy in stunning detail, with thousands of markers indicating various civilizations, threats, and ongoing operations. This is the current state of galactic affairs, she explained. Every point of light represents either a civilization we monitor, a threat we track, or an operation we are conducting. As you can see, we are very busy. Klamath stared at the display in amazement. How long have you been doing this? Human civilization has been actively managing galactic affairs for 843 years. But our involvement began much earlier than that. The display changed to show Earth's history, but not the version the Zephyrians had expected. Instead of a young species gradually developing technology, they saw evidence of advanced human civilizations stretching back thousands of years. We were not always the Guardians, Dr. Chun continued. Long ago, humans were just another young species reaching for the stars. We were contacted by an ancient race called the Precursors, beings who had been managing galactic development for millions of years. What happened to these Precursors? They grew tired. After millions of years of watching over the galaxy, guiding young species, and fighting ancient threats, they decided it was time to rest. They chose humanity to take over their responsibilities. Why humans? Because we had something the Precursors found rare among intelligent species. We had the ability to adapt quickly to new situations, the willingness to sacrifice for others even when those others were strangers. And most importantly, we had learned to work together despite our differences. The holographic display showed images of early human space exploration, but these were not the primitive rockets the Zephyrians had expected. These were advanced vessels that moved between stars with ease. The Precursors spent 2,000 years training humanity for our current role. They taught us their technology, their methods, their understanding of the galaxy's dangers. When they finally departed for whatever comes after this existence, they left us with the tools and knowledge we needed to continue their work. Zatok watched the display with growing understanding. That is why you pretend to be primitive. You do not want other species to know that humans have replaced the Precursors. Exactly. The Precursors ruled through mystery and fear. Species knew they existed but never understood them. We chose a different approach. We decided to work from the shadows, to guide without ruling, to protect without controlling. Dr. Chun led them to another section of the command center where they could see real-time feeds from across the galaxy. On one screen, human ships worked alongside alien vessels to evacuate a planet threatened by solar flares. On another, human diplomats mediated a dispute between two species on the verge of war. This is what we do every day, she said. We prevent wars, stop genocides, evacuate populations from natural disasters, and fight threats that most species cannot even comprehend. We do this work quietly, without recognition, because it needs to be done. Commander Vexthara studied the feeds, seeing the scope of human operations for the first time. How many humans know the truth? About 50,000. We call them the active guardians. They are the ones who work directly on guardian operations. Another 500,000 know partial truths and work in support roles. The rest of humanity lives normal lives, unaware of our secret responsibilities. And now you want the Zephyrian Empire to join this network? We want selected members of your species to join us, yes. Your empire will continue to function normally. Most of your people will never know about Guardian operations. But a small group of Zephyrians will be trained to help us protect the galaxy. Dr. Chun activated another control, and the display showed detailed plans for Zephyrian integration into the Guardian network. Training programs, technology transfers, assigned territories, and operational procedures. Your first assignment will be to monitor the Vega sector, she explained. There are 6 developing civilizations in that region, plus several automated defense systems left by extinct species. You will be responsible for ensuring that the young civilizations develop safely and that the ancient systems do not become active. Klamath asked the question that had been bothering him since the revelations began. What if we had chosen differently? What if we had decided to attack you or refused your offer? Dr. Chin's expression became serious. If you had chosen to attack, you would all be dead right now. Your ship in orbit would have been destroyed, and a strike team would be on its way to your homeworld to prevent retaliation. She gestured to another display that showed the Zephyrian home system. The detail was incredible, down to individual buildings and military installations. If you had chosen to return with modified memories, you would have awakened on your ship, believing you had made peaceful contact with a primitive human civilization. Over the next 50 years, your species would have been gradually guided away from aggressive expansion and toward more peaceful development. And you would have monitored. Is the entire time? Forever. Every species we contact remains under observation permanently. Some never realize it. Others eventually discover our monitoring and are given the same choice you just made. An urgent alarm interrupted their conversation. A human technician called out from across the command center. Dr. Chun, we have a problem with the Kepler operation. The machine intelligence is adapting faster than we expected. Dr. Chun immediately moved to a communication station. Put me through to Admiral Harrison. A holographic figure appeared above the console. It was a human male in a military uniform standing on what appeared to be the bridge of a spacecraft. Sarah, the situation is deteriorating, he said without preamble. The machine intelligence has figured out how to counter our disruption fields. It's consuming planets faster than we can evacuate them. What do you need? More ships and a new strategy? The conventional Guardian protocols are not working against this threat. Dr. Chun looked at Commander Vextara and his crew. Commander, this is your first lesson in Guardian reality. Sometimes our standard procedures are not enough. Sometimes we have to improvise. She turned back to the holographic admiral. Admiral Harrison, I am sending you additional resources. And I have a new asset that might be able to help. What kind of asset? Zephyrian tactical expertise. They're military. Has experience with machine opponents from their conflicts in the outer territories. Vextara stepped forward. Dr. Chun, we have never fought anything like what you showed us. No, but you have fought automated defense systems and rogue artificial intelligences. Your tactics might be applicable to this situation. Admiral. Harrison looked skeptical. Sarah, this is not the time to test new allies. Admiral, the Zephyrians just passed our evaluation and chose to become Guardians. This is their first mission. Either we trust them or we do not. And there was a long pause before Admiral Harrison nodded. Very well. Have them report to the Battle Coordination Center. We will brief them on the situation. The connection ended, and Dr. Chun turned to the Zephyrian crew. Commander, you wanted to know what being a Guardian means. This is it. You will be transported to our command ship in the Kepler sector, where you will help plan and execute operations against a machine intelligence that has already consumed 4 inhabited worlds. Vextara felt a mixture of terror and excitement. We are not trained for this. None of us were trained for this when we started. Guardian work requires constant adaptation and learning. You will be given advanced equipment and tactical support, but ultimately you will need to rely on your skills and judgment. Dr. Chun led them to a transportation platform that hummed with energy. This will take you directly to our command ship. The journey will take 30 seconds. As they stepped onto the platform, Klamath asked one final question. Dr. Chun, what if we fail? Then millions of beings will die, and the machine intelligence will spread to other systems. Failure is not an option. The transportation beam activated, and the Zephyrian crew found themselves standing on the bridge of a human warship unlike anything they had ever imagined. The vessel was enormous, filled with technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Through the main view screen, they could see a massive battle raging around a dying star system. Admiral Harrison approached them immediately. Commander Vextara, welcome to Guardian Operations. I hope you are ready to fight for the survival of everything we protect. In the distance, the machine intelligence continued its relentless consumption of worlds, growing stronger with each planet it destroyed. The Zephyrians realized that their old life of peaceful exploration was over. They were now part of something much larger and more dangerous than they had ever imagined. But as Vextara watched human and alien ships working together to fight an ancient horror, he also realized something else. They were no longer alone in the galaxy. They were part of a network of species dedicated to protecting life and preventing the darkness from consuming everything. Admiral, he said, stepping forward, what do you need us to do? Help us save a galaxy, Commander. Help us be worthy of the trust the precursors placed in us. As the battle raged around them, Commander, Vextara understood that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders and terrors beyond imagination. But humanity had shown them that it was possible to face those terrors together, to protect the weak and guide the strong, to be something more than just another species reaching for the stars. The Zephyrian Empire would never be the same. But perhaps Vextara thought as he prepared for his first Guardian mission that was exactly what they needed to become. The space around Kepler 442 was filled with ships like Captain Sarah Chun had never seen before. They looked like art pieces floating in the black void. Some were long and curved like silver ribbons. Others were round and glowing with soft blue light. A few looked like they were made of living crystal that caught starlight and threw it back in rainbow colors. Then there was her ship, the GSV. Terran Defiance looked like a flying brick next to these beautiful alien vessels. It was all sharp angles and gray metal. Pipes and cables ran along its outside hull. Gun turrets stuck out like angry thorns. Where the alien ships were smooth and graceful, the human warship was rough and built for business. Captain Chun stood on the bridge looking at the main screen. She was a tall woman with short black hair and dark eyes that missed nothing. She had been in the Earth Navy for 15 years. She had fought pirates in the asteroid belt and rebels on Mars, but this was different. This was first contact with alien life. Contact established, Captain, said Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. He was young but smart. His fingers moved quickly over the control panel. They are speaking to us in English. Their computer systems must have learned our language from our transmissions. Put it on speaker, Chun said. A voice came through the speakers. It sounded musical and light. Greetings, vessel from the star system you call Sol. I am Ambassador Vextai of the Galactic Council. We welcome you to Kepler 442, Chun stepped forward. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Earthship Terran Defiance. We come in peace seeking membership in your Galactic Council. There was a pause. Then the voice came back, but Chun could hear something in it now. It sounded like the way adults talk to children. Of course, Captain Chun, we are always happy when new species join the galactic community. Your ship design is quite ... interesting. Chun looked at her tactical officer, Lieutenant Rodriguez. The woman raised one eyebrow. They both knew that tone. It was the same tone rich people used when they looked at old Earth tech. We would like to arrange a meeting, the alien voice continued. Please follow the beacon to docking station 7. We have prepared a suitable area for your vessel. The words were polite, but Chun heard what they really meant. They were being put in the cheap seats. Understood, Ambassador. We will follow your beacon. The connection ended. Chun turned to her crew. Well, people, this is it. First contact. With alien life, let's try not to embarrass the human race. The bridge crew smiled. These were good people. Chun had handpicked every one of them. They came from all over Earth. Torres was from Mexico. Rodriguez was from Spain. Her engineer, Petty Officer Kim, was from Korea. Her pilot, Ensign Anderson, was from Norway. They represented the best of humanity. The Terran Defiance moved slowly toward the beacon. As they got closer, Chin could see the alien ships better. The silver ribbon ships belonged to something called the Ethereals. They moved through space like fish swimming through water. Their hulls seemed to bend and flow as they flew. The round glowing ships were from the Aquarian Republic. They looked like jellyfish made of metal and light. Energy fields danced around them in beautiful patterns. Chun counted at least 20. Of them, the crystal ships were the most amazing. They belonged to the Zephyrian Empire. Each one looked like it had been grown instead of built. Light passed through them and came out changed, creating clouds of colored gas around each vessel. Then there were ships from species Chun had never heard of. Some looked like flowers with metal petals. Others were shaped like spirals that seemed to spin even when they were standing still. One looked like it was made of nothing but light held together by force fields. "Captain," said Ensign Anderson from the pilot station, "I'm getting some strange readings from the alien ships. Their engines don't make sense. No heat signature, no radiation. It's like they're using something completely different from our fusion drives." "Noted," Chun said. "Keep monitoring." The docking station was huge. It was built to hold ships of all sizes. The Terran Defiance looked small next to some of the alien vessels, but Chane noticed they were being directed to a section with other ships that looked more normal, less advanced. "Looks like we're being grouped with the other primitives," Rodriguez said quietly. Chun nodded. She had expected this. Humans were the new kids in school. They would have to prove themselves. The docking was smooth. Earth's pilots were good at their jobs. As soon as they were connected, Chen felt the station's artificial gravity take hold. It felt strange after months in space. "Captain," Torres said, "we're getting a message. The Council wants to meet with you in 1 hour. Formal first contact ceremony." "Tell them I'll be there," Chun said. She turned to Rodriguez. "You have the ship. Standard protocols? No one goes anywhere alone." "Full security measures," Rodriguez nodded. "Understood, Captain." Chun went to her quarters to change into her dress uniform. The dark blue jacket with gold trim looked good, but she felt strange wearing it. She was used to combat gear and work clothes. This formal stuff was for politicians and diplomats. As she walked through the corridors of her ship, Chun thought about how different the Terran Defiance was from the alien vessels. Every surface served a purpose. There were no decorations or art. The walls were thick metal designed to stop enemy fire. The corridors were wide enough to move equipment and wounded people quickly. The ship had been built in the orbital yards around Earth. It was the first warship humanity had ever built specifically for deep space. Every system had been tested and retested. Every weapon had been fired thousands of times. Every piece of armor had been hit with everything from lasers to nuclear bombs. But looking at those alien ships, Chun wondered if all that testing mattered. The aliens clearly had technology far beyond what humans could build. Their ships moved without visible engines. Their hulls were made of materials that shouldn't exist. Their weapons probably made human railguns look like throwing rocks. Still, Chun felt proud of her ship. It might not be pretty, but it was solid. It was built by people who knew how to fight and how to survive. Every rivet and weld had been placed by someone who understood that in space there was no room for mistakes. The walk to the meeting area took 20 minutes. Chun passed through several sections of the station. Each one was different. The ethereal sections were full of flowing curves and soft light. The Aquarian areas had pools of water and floating platforms. The Zephyrian sections looked like the inside of giant crystals. The human section was simple and practical. Gray walls, bright lights, and straight corridors. It looked like every military base Chun had ever seen. Familiar and boring. Hall was enormous. It could have held 1,000 people easily. Chun counted representatives from at least 20 different species. They all looked at her as she entered. Most seemed curious but not particularly impressed. Ambassador Vexthai turned out to be one of the ethereals. He was tall and thin with skin that seemed to glow from within. His clothes moved like they were made of liquid metal. When he spoke, his voice had that same musical quality Chun had heard on the radio. "Captain Chun, welcome to the Galactic Council. It is always exciting when a new species takes their first steps into the larger galaxy." There was that tone again. Like she was a child taking her first steps. Thank you, Ambassador. Humanity is honored to be here. Of course, Vexthai said. Now, we should discuss the process for joining the Council. There are certain requirements. Tests that must be passed, standards that must be met. Chun had expected. This too, what kind of tests? A new voice answered. It sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Military competence is one requirement. The speaker was a Zephyrian. Her body looked like it was carved from living diamond. All council members must be able to contribute to galactic defense. Defense against what? Chun asked. The aliens looked at each other. Finally, an Aquarian spoke. His voice bubbled like water over rocks. Pirates, raiders, the occasional rebellious colony, nothing too serious. The galaxy has been at peace for over 200 years. Chun nodded, but something felt wrong. In her experience, people who talked about how peaceful things were usually didn't know what real peace looked like. What would the test involve? She asked. A simple escort mission, Vexthai said. One of our trade convoys needs protection while traveling through a disputed area. Your ship would accompany one of our patrol vessels, very routine. When would this happen? Tomorrow, if you are ready. The convoy is already prepared. It is just a matter of traveling to the void reaches and back. Perhaps 3 days total. Chun thought about it. 3 days didn't seem like much time to prove humanity worthy of joining an interstellar government. What exactly are we escorting? Mineral shipments from the outer colonies, the Zephyrian said. Rare elements needed for ship construction. The route has seen some minor piracy lately, nothing serious. Define minor, Chun said. The aliens looked uncomfortable. A few ships have gone missing. Probably just engine failures or navigation errors. Space is vast. Ships get lost. Chun had spent 15 years in the Earth Navy. She knew the difference between ships getting lost and ships getting killed. How many ships? Perhaps a dozen in the last year, Vexthai admitted. But the void reaches are difficult to navigate. Many things can go wrong. I see, Chun made her decision. We accept the mission. Excellent, Vexthai said. You will be working with Captain Zexhai of the patrol ship Harmony's Edge. He has extensive experience in escort duties. When do we leave? Dawn tomorrow? By station time? Your ship will take the secondary position. Captain Zexhai will handle all tactical decisions. Chun kept her face neutral, but inside she was annoyed. Secondary position meant they would be following behind, taking orders from aliens who thought humans were primitives. Understood, she said. The meeting continued for another hour. The aliens explained council procedures and regulations. They talked about trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. They were polite but clearly saw humanity as junior partners at best. When it was over, Chun walked back to her ship. The corridors of the station seemed longer now. She passed more alien crew members. They nodded politely but didn't seem interested in conversation. Back on the Terran Defiance, Chang called a meeting with her senior staff. They gathered in the briefing room, a simple space with a large table and wall screens. So, Rodriguez said, how did it go? About what we expected, Chun said. They think we're primitive. They're giving us a simple milk run to prove we can. Follow orders. What kind of mission? Asked Commander Park, her executive officer. Escort duty. Trade convoy through something called the Void Reaches. We'll be working with a council patrol ship. Chief Engineer Kim leaned forward. What do we know about this patrol ship? Not much yet. It's called the Harmony's Edge. We'll meet the captain tomorrow. And the threat level? Rodriguez asked. Chun paused. They say it's just minor piracy, a few missing ships, nothing serious. Her officers looked at each other. They all knew Chen well enough to read between the lines. But you don't believe them, Park said. 12 ships don't just disappear because of navigation errors, Chun said. Something is hunting in the void reaches. Something the council either doesn't know about or doesn't want to admit. So what do we do? Torres asked. Chun smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. We do our job. We protect the convoy. And we show these aliens what humans are really capable of. The meeting broke up and the crew went back to their duties. Chun stayed in the briefing room, looking at the star charts. The void reaches were a region of empty space between two star systems. No planets, no stations. No regular traffic. It was the perfect place for an ambush. Chun had a bad feeling about this mission, but bad feelings were nothing new. She had learned to trust her instincts over the years. They had kept her alive through 3 wars and dozens of battles. Whatever was waiting for them in the void reaches, the Terran Defiance would be ready. Captain Chun stood on the bridge of the Terran Defiance as they moved away from the station. Through the main screen, she could see the convoy forming up ahead of them. 12 massive cargo ships hung in space like floating cities. Each one was over 2 kilometers long and packed with rare minerals from the outer colonies. The ships were beautiful in their own way. The Zephyrian freighters looked like crystal palaces, their hulls transparent and glowing. The Aquarian vessels were smooth and round, covered in flowing patterns that moved like waves. Even the ethereal cargo ships had an elegant grace that made them seem more like art than machinery. "Contact from the Harmony's Edge," Torres reported from the communications station. "Put it through," Chun said. The main screen changed to show the bridge of the Council patrol ship. Captain HFY appeared on screen. He was a Zephyrian like the ambassador, but his crystal body was darker, more military-looking. When he spoke, his voice had the same wind chime quality but with a harder edge. "Captain Chun, I am HFY. I will be commanding this escort mission." "Understood, Captain." "We're ready to proceed." "Good. Your ship will take position at the rear of the convoy. The Harmony's Edge will lead from the front. You are to maintain formation and follow all my orders without question." Chun kept her face neutral. "Of course, Captain." "Excellent. Now, let me explain the route. We will travel through normal space to the edge of this system, then jump to hyperspace. The journey to the void reaches will take 18 hours. We will escort the convoy across the reaches, then continue to the Kepler 186 system for delivery." "What about the reported piracy?" HFY made a sound that might have been laughter. "Captain Chun, your species is new to space travel. What you call piracy, we call minor inconveniences. A few small raider ships with primitive weapons. Nothing. That cannot be handled easily." "How many raiders are we expecting?" "Perhaps 3 or 4 ships at most. They attack lone freighters, not armed convoys. Your ship is more than adequate backup for this mission." Chun nodded, but she noticed something. HFY talked about the raiders like they were a known problem. If they were such a minor threat, why were ships still going missing? "What happened to the 12 ships that disappeared?" she asked. HFY's crystal features darkened slightly. "Navigation errors. Engine failures. Space is dangerous for those who do not understand it properly. Your species will learn these things in time." The connection ended. Chun turned to Rodriguez, who was standing next to her chair. "Thoughts?" Chun asked quietly. "He's lying," Rodriguez said. "Or at least not telling us everything." "Navigation errors don't make 12 ships disappear in the same area?" "Agreed." "Torres, start long-range scans of our route. I want to know about every piece of space dust between here and our destination." "Yes, Captain." The convoy began moving. The Harmony's Edge took the lead position, its elegant hull glowing with energy fields. The 12 cargo ships formed up in a loose formation behind it. The Terran Defiance brought up the rear. Looking like a guard dog following a parade of show horses, Chun watched the Council patrol ship carefully. The Harmony's Edge was impressive. It was 3 times the size of her ship and moved through space like it was dancing. Energy barriers shimmered around its hull. Weapon ports were hidden behind smooth panels that could open in seconds, but Chun noticed something else. The ship was beautiful, but it was built for fighting enemies that followed rules. The weapons were precise and elegant. The defenses were sophisticated but seemed designed for traditional space combat. "Captain," Torres called out, "I'm getting something strange on long-range sensors." "What kind of strange?" "There's an area in the void reaches where my sensors just stop working, like there's nothing there at all." Chun walked over to Rez's station. The sensor display showed their route clearly until they reached a certain point. Then it became a blank gray area. How big is this dead zone? She asked. Hard to tell. At least 50,000 kilometers across. Maybe more. Could be natural interference, Rodriguez suggested. Some kind of stellar phenomenon? Chun shook her head. Torres. Can you get a message to the Harmony's Edge without Captain Zexhai knowing about it? I can try a direct data burst to their sensor officer. Do it. Ask them about the sensor dead zone. Torres worked at his console for several minutes. Finally, he looked up. Got a response, Captain. Their sensor officer says they've noticed, same thing. But when they reported it to their captain, they were told it was normal for the void reaches. Interesting, Chun said. Rodriguez, what's our weapon status? All systems green, Captain. Railguns loaded and ready. Missile tubes armed? Point defense systems online. Good, I want everyone ready for anything. The journey to the hyperspace jump point took 6 hours. During that time, Chen had her crew run constant drills. They practiced damage control, weapons targeting, and emergency maneuvers. The alien crew members monitoring their communications. Probably thought humans were paranoid. Chun didn't care what they thought. When they reached the jump point, the convoy formed up in a tight formation. The Harmony's Edge opened a hyperspace window, and all 13 ships jumped together. Hyperspace was always strange for humans. The normal rules of physics didn't work the same way. Colors became sounds, distance became time. Most humans felt sick for the first few minutes until their brains adjusted, but Chun had made dozens of hyperspace jumps. She stood calmly on the bridge while her crew got used to the sensation. 18 hours to the void reaches, Park reported. Good, set normal. Watch schedules, but I want the weapons crews to stay alert. The time passed slowly. Chun tried to sleep but found herself thinking about the missing ships. 12 vessels was not a small number. If raiders were responsible, they would need a significant force to take down cargo ships that size. She also thought about Captain Zexhai's attitude. He treated the human ship like it was barely worth noticing. That kind of arrogance could get people killed. 16 hours into the jump, Torres picked up something on the communications array. Captain, I'm getting a faint signal. It's very weak and broken up. Can you clean it up? Torres worked at his console. Slowly, a voice became clear. It was speaking in one of the alien languages, but the computer translated it to English. Mayday. This is the cargo vessel Crystal Garden. We are under attack. Unknown ships, very large. Our escorts are destroyed. Please send help. They're cutting through our hull like it's paper. Oh God, they're boarding us. They're not pirates. They're something else, something worse. The transmission. Cut off and static. Chun felt ice in her veins. Torres, when was that transmitted? Based on the signal decay, about 6 months ago. The Crystal Garden was one of the missing ships, Rodriguez said quietly. Chun nodded. She walked back to her command chair and sat down. Torres, send a message to the Harmony's Edge. Tell them we picked up an old distress call. Ask if they want to investigate. The response came back quickly. Captain Zexhai's voice was annoyed. Captain Chun, old distress calls are common in space. Ships in trouble often send multiple transmissions. This is probably from a vessel that was rescued months ago. Do not worry about such things. Chun looked at her bridge crew. They all had the same expression. They knew a cover-up when they heard one. Torres, from now on I want you monitoring all frequencies. If there are more old transmissions out there, I want to hear them. Yes, Captain. 2 hours later, they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the void reaches. Chen had expected empty space, but what she saw made her blood run cold. The area was full of debris. Pieces of metal drifted slowly through the darkness. Some chunks were as big as houses, others were just scattered fragments. It looked like a ship graveyard. Captain, Torres said, his voice tight. I'm reading at least 15 different ship signatures in that debris field, maybe more. 15 ships? Chun stood up. That's more than the 12 they told us about. A lot more, Rodriguez agreed. On the main screen, the Harmony's Edge was moving forward like nothing was wrong. The cargo ships followed in formation, their crews apparently not seeing what the humans could see clearly. Torres, are their sensors really that much worse than ours? No, Captain, their sensors are much better than ours. They have to be seeing this. Which meant they were ignoring it on purpose. Chun made a decision. Torres, start recording everything. I want a complete record of this debris field. Already started, Captain. The convoy moved deeper into the void reaches. The debris got thicker. Chen could see pieces of ships she recognized from the station. Zephyrian crystal hulls. Aquarian. Curved sections, even some ethereal flowing metal. But there were other pieces too. Metal that looked different, darker, angrier. Captain, Torres said quietly, I'm picking up something else. Very faint, at the edge of our sensor range. What? Is it ships, big ones? They're not moving, but they're there. At least 50 of them. Chun felt her heart rate increase. How big? Bigger than anything we've seen. The largest one is reading at over 5 kilometers long. 5 kilometers. That was bigger than anything in the Earth fleet. Bigger than most space stations. Are they active? I don't think so. No energy signatures. No movement. They might be powered down. Or they might be waiting. Chion opened a channel to the Harmony's Edge. Captain Zexhai, our sensors are detecting a large fleet ahead. Are you seeing this? There was a long pause. When Zexhai answered, his voice was different, less confident. Captain Chun, you are mistaken. Our sensors show nothing unusual. Captain, I'm looking at over 50 ships. Some of them are huge. Your sensors are malfunctioning. The void reaches are known to cause problems with primitive scanning equipment. Ignore these false readings. Chun muted the channel and turned to her crew. He's lying. He knows exactly what's out there. So what do we do? Park asked. Chun thought for a moment. They were committed to the mission now. Turning back would mean abandoning the convoy and probably getting humanity kicked out of the Galactic Council before they even joined. But going forward meant flying into a trap that had already killed at least 15 ships. We do our job, Chun said finally. But we do it our way. Rodriguez, bring all weapons online. Full combat readiness. Torres, I want constant scans of those ships ahead. Kim, how are our engines? Running perfect, Captain, came Kim's voice from engineering. Good, because I have a feeling we're going to need every bit of speed and power we have. The convoy continued deeper into the void reaches. The debris field got thicker. Chun could see hull plates, pieces of engines, even what looked like entire ship sections drifting slowly in the darkness. And ahead of them, barely visible at the edge of sensor range, the mysterious fleet waited in silence. Chun had been in enough battles to recognize a killing field when she saw one. This whole area was designed to funnel ships into a specific path. The debris forced the convoy to fly in a narrow corridor between larger chunks of wreckage. It was the perfect place for an ambush. Captain, Torres said, his voice very quiet. Those ships ahead, they're not dead? I'm picking up very faint energy readings, like they're in some kind of standby mode. How long until we reach them? At current speed, about 2 hours, Chun nodded. 2 hours to figure out what they were flying into. 2 hours to come up with a plan that might keep them alive. She looked at the main screen, where the Harmony's Edge continued forward like nothing was wrong. Captain Zexhai was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Chun suspected it was stupid. The aliens had lived in peace for 200 years. They had forgotten what real danger looked like, but humans remembered. Humans had been fighting and dying for their entire history. They knew how to recognize a trap. All hands, Chun announced over the ship's communication system. This is the captain. We are approaching a potentially hostile situation. All crew members are to report to battle stations immediately. This is not a drill. Throughout the ship, alarm bells began ringing. Chun's crew moved quickly to their combat positions. They had trained for this moment for months. Now they would find out if their training was enough. The convoy flew deeper. into the void reaches, toward whatever was waiting for them in the darkness ahead. The attack came without warning. One moment the convoy was moving peacefully through the debris field. The next moment, space erupted in fire and death. The mysterious ships that had been waiting in the darkness suddenly blazed to life. Energy signatures spiked across every sensor screen. What had looked like 50 dead hulks revealed themselves to be over 200 active warships. They were massive. The smallest was twice the size of the Harmony's Edge. The largest was a monster over 6 kilometers long, bristling with weapon ports and armored like a fortress. They were dark, angular things, all sharp edges and brutal efficiency. Where the council ships were graceful and beautiful, these vessels looked like they had been designed by someone who understood only violence. "Contact!" Torres shouted. 200-plus enemy vessels coming online. They're surrounding us. Captain Chin gripped her command chair as the bridge lights switched to combat red. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill." The enemy. Ships moved with terrifying coordination. They came from all directions, rising from positions hidden behind debris and asteroids. Their formation was perfect, cutting off every escape route. The convoy was trapped in a box of hostile vessels. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, "I'm reading massive energy buildups from the enemy ships. They're charging weapons." "What kind of weapons?" "I don't know. The energy signatures don't match anything in our database." On the main screen, Captain Chun watched the lead enemy vessel target the Harmony's Edge. It was enormous, at least 5 times larger than the Council patrol ship. Its hull was covered in what looked like scars and burn marks from countless battles. The first shot came from that massive warship. A beam of pure red energy lanced across space and struck the Harmony's Edge's shields. The elegant energy barriers that protected the Council ship flared bright blue, then flickered and failed completely. Captain Zexhai's voice came over the communications channel, and for the first time he sounded afraid. "All ships, we are under attack by unknown hostiles. Request immediate assistance." "Unknown hostiles?" Chun said to her bridge crew. "He still doesn't know what hit him." The second shot from the enemy flagship punched through the Harmony's Edge's hull like it was made of paper. The Council ship shuddered and began venting atmosphere. Internal explosions lit up its crystal structure from the inside. "My God," Torres whispered. "Their weapons just cut through the patrol ship's armor like it wasn't even there." More enemy vessels opened fire. The air filled with red energy beams, plasma bolts, and missiles that moved faster than anything Chun had ever seen. The Council ships tried to return fire, but their elegant energy weapons seemed to do nothing against the dark hulls of their attackers. The first cargo ship died within minutes. It was a beautiful Zephyrion crystal hauler carrying rare minerals. The enemy focused 6 ships on it, hammering it with concentrated fire until its hull cracked like glass. The ship broke apart in a shower of crystal fragments and escaping cargo. "Captain, Zexhai is trying to coordinate a defense," Torres reported. "But the enemy is jamming most communications." Chung could see the Council ships trying to fight back. Their weapons were precise and powerful, but they seemed designed for fighting opponents who followed the same rules of war. These attackers didn't follow any rules at all. The enemy ships moved in perfect formation, concentrating their fire to destroy one target at a time. They showed no mercy and took no prisoners. When a Council ship was disabled, the enemy finished it off immediately. "Second cargo ship is gone," Rodriguez reported. "Third is taking heavy fire." Chin watched the slaughter and felt her anger growing. These weren't pirates. Pirates wanted cargo, not destruction. These ships were here to kill everything that moved. "Torres, any communication from the enemy?" "Nothing, Captain." "They're not responding to any signals. No demands, no warnings. They're just killing everything." The Harmony's Edge was still fighting, but barely. Half its weapons were offline, and it was leaking atmosphere from dozens of holes. Captain Zexhai was trying to rally the remaining cargo ships, but panic was setting in. "Fourth cargo ship destroyed," Park announced. "Fifth is running." One of the Aquarian freighters had broken formation and was trying to escape. It didn't get far. 3 enemy ships moved to intercept it, their dark hulls cutting through space like sharks chasing a wounded fish. They caught the fleeing cargo ship and tore it apart with concentrated fire. 6 ships down, Rodriguez said. Half the convoy is gone. Chun made her decision. The Terran Defiance had been hanging back, watching the slaughter. The enemy ships seemed to be ignoring them for now, focusing on the larger council vessels. But that wouldn't last long. All hands, this is the captain, she announced over the ship's communication system. We are going into combat against overwhelming odds. The enemy has superior numbers and firepower, but they don't know what they're dealing with. She looked around her bridge. Her crew was scared but ready. These were good people who had trained for exactly this situation. Torres, send a message to Earth. Tell them what we found here. Tell them the galaxy isn't as peaceful as the Council. Claimed, yes, Captain. Rodriguez, bring all weapons online. I want every gun ready to fire. All weapons are hot, Captain. Kim, I need everything the engines can give us. You got it, Captain, came the engineer's voice from below. Chun stood up from her command chair. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to show these aliens what humans do when cornered. Torres, open a channel to the Harmony's edge. Captain Zexai's face appeared on screen. His crystal features were cracked and bleeding some kind of glowing fluid. Behind him, his bridge was filled with smoke and sparks. Captain Chen, you must retreat immediately. Your ship cannot survive this attack. Save yourselves. Negative, Captain. We're not abandoning the convoy. You don't understand? These are not pirates. These are the Ravagers. They are a machine race that destroys all biological life. They were supposed to be extinct. Well, they're not extinct now, Chun said. How many ships do they have? Our census counted over 200 before they were damaged. Captain, you must run. The Ravagers will kill everything here, maybe, Chun said. But they're going to have to work for it. Rodriguez, take us in. Captain, wait, Zexai called out. Your ship is not equipped for this kind of battle. The Ravagers have technology beyond anything your species has seen, Chun smiled grimly. Captain, you've been underestimating humans since we met. Time to see what we're really made of. She cut the communication and turned to her crew. Rodriguez, set course for the enemy flagship. Torres, target their largest ship. Kim, give me ramming speed. Ramming speed? Park asked. Captain, that ship is 6 times our size. I know exactly how big it is, Chun said. And I know exactly what we're going to do to it. The Terran Defiance turned toward the enemy fleet and accelerated. The ship's fusion engines roared to life, pushing the vessel faster than it had ever gone. They were heading straight for the largest Ravager warship, the one that had destroyed the Harmony's Edge's shields with a single shot. Captain, Torres said, the enemy is targeting us. Multiple ships are turning our way. Good, let them come. The first enemy shots came from 3 medium-sized Ravager ships. Red energy beams struck the Terran Defiance's armor and splashed harmlessly off the thick metal plates. The human ship kept coming. Their weapons aren't penetrating our armor, Rodriguez reported, sounding surprised. Council ships are built for elegance, Chun said. Human ships are built to take a beating. More enemy vessels opened fire. Plasma bolts and energy beams hammered the Terran Defiance from all sides. The ship shook under the impacts, but the armor held. Scorch marks appeared on the hull, but no serious damage. How is our armor holding up so well? Park asked. Because we build things differently, Chun said. Council ships rely on shields and barriers. We put our faith in 3 meters of hardened steel. The Terran Defiance continued its charge toward the enemy flagship. The massive Ravager ship was turning. To face them, bringing its main weapons to bear, Chun could see gun ports opening along its dark hull. Captain, Torres called out, the flagship is charging its primary weapon, the same one that took out the Harmony's Edge. Let it come, Chun said. Rodriguez, are our missiles ready? All tubes loaded and armed, Captain. On my mark, fire. Everything we have at that flagship's weapon ports. The enemy flagship completed its turn and aimed its main gun at the approaching human ship. Energy began building in the weapon, creating a red glow that grew brighter and brighter. "Incoming!" Torres shouted. The massive red beam lanced out from the Ravager flagship, the same weapon that had destroyed the Harmony's Edge's shields in. One shot, it struck the Terran Defiance dead center. The ship bucked and rolled under the impact. Sparks flew from damaged systems, the lights flickered. But when the energy beam faded, the human ship was still there, still coming, armor scorched, but intact. "Hull breach on Deck 7, Park reported. "Damage control teams responding. But we're still in the fight." "How?" Torres asked. "That shot should have destroyed us." "Because," Chun said, "we don't build pretty ships, we build ships that survive." "Rodriguez, fire everything." Every missile tube on the Terran Defiance opened at once. Dozens of nuclear-tipped warheads streaked toward the enemy flagship, followed by railgun rounds moving at a significant fraction of the speed of light. The Ravager ship's point defenses opened up, trying to intercept the incoming missiles. But there were too many coming too fast. Half the missiles got through, slamming into the enemy ship's weapon ports and primary gun. Explosions rippled along the flagship's hull. Its main weapon, the one that had been charging for another shot, went dark. Secondary explosions followed as the damage spread. "Direct hits," Rodriguez reported. "Their main gun is offline." "Good," Chun said. "Now let's see how they like a real fight." But even as the human ship scored its first victory, more Ravager vessels were closing in. The Terran Defiance was alone now. The Harmony's Edge was dead in space, its crew evacuated to escape pods. Only 3 cargo ships remained, and they were scattered and defenseless. Chun looked at the tactical display. 200 enemy ships against 1 human vessel. In any reasonable universe, this would be a massacre. But Chun had stopped believing in reasonable universes the moment she joined the Earth Navy. "All hands," she announced. "This is going to get rough. Hold on to something." The enemy ships came from all directions, surrounding the lone human vessel. Energy weapons lit up the darkness as they opened fire with everything they had. The Terran Defiance disappeared in a storm of enemy fire. Red energy beams, plasma bolts, and guided missiles converged on the human ship from dozens of directions. When the weapons fire finally stopped, the Ravager commanders expected to see debris. Instead, they saw something impossible. The human ship was still there. Damaged, scorched, and battered, but still fighting. "Hull breaches on decks 4, 7, and 12, Park reported. "We've lost main sensors and 2 missile tubes. But all primary systems are still online. How many enemy ships?" Chun asked. "Still reading about 200, Captain. But now they're all focused on us. Double quotes, Chun smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a predator that had been backed into a corner and was ready to bite. "Good," she said. "Now they're about to learn why humans are the apex predators of Earth." Around them, the Ravager fleet began to close in for the kill. They had destroyed hundreds of ships using the same tactics. Surround the enemy, overwhelm them with superior firepower, and finish them off. But they had never fought humans before. And humans, when cornered, fought like the descendants of 1,000,000 years of evolution had taught them. They fought like survivors. Captain Chun stood on the bridge of the Terran Defiance and watched 200 enemy ships surround her vessel. The Ravager fleet moved with perfect coordination, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. Each ship was a weapon of war, built for one purpose: total destruction of all biological life. "Captain," Torres said from his station, "they're forming an attack formation. Looks like they plan to hit us from all sides at once." "Let them," Chun said. "Rodriguez, what's our weapons?" "Status? 18 missile tubes still operational. All railguns online, point defense systems at full power. Nuclear warheads armed and ready," Chun nodded. The Terran Defiance had been built for war. Not the elegant, civilized warfare the Council knew, but the brutal, desperate kind of fighting that humans had perfected over thousands of years. "Torres, open a channel to the entire ship." Channel open, Captain. Chun picked up the microphone. Throughout the ship, her crew stopped what they were doing to listen. In engineering, Chief Kim looked up from her damage control reports. In the gun turrets, the weapons crews paused their loading procedures. In the medical bay, Dr. Martinez stopped treating wounded crew members. "This is the captain," Chun began. "In a few minutes, we're going to be fighting for our lives against impossible odds. The enemy has us outnumbered 200 to 1. They have bigger ships, more advanced weapons, and they've just destroyed an entire council convoy." She paused, looking around her bridge. Her officers were scared but determined. They knew what was coming. "But there's something these ravagers don't understand about humans. We've been fighting longer than any species in the galaxy. We've had wars that lasted decades. We've survived plagues, famines, and disasters that would have destroyed other races. And when we're cornered, when there's nowhere to run, we don't give up. We fight." Chun's voice grew stronger. "They think they're hunters and we're prey. They're about to learn different. Today, we show the galaxy